How's it going, everybody? Whoops. How's it going, everybody? So today we're going to be working on creating a multiplayer session that also works with Steam. This is going to be more of a template than anything, just to get you started. I did not mean to open that. Let's see. So we'll actually need to go straight to our editor, and we are going to create a brand new project, in this case at least, and you can add this to any existing project that you like to. It's not gonna damage anything. We'll just make this the multiplayer template. I actually have this linked somewhere in the description for you to just download directly, or I'll link my Discord and you can message me about it if you need any help or anything like that. So this is going to be our multiplayer template, and we're going to create the project just with starter content, everything. It's not really going to matter. Like I said, you can add this to an existing project, but a few things you're going to go ahead and want to get is, see, we can actually go ahead and close directly out of this, because we're going to need to go and get the Advanced Sessions plugin. So you just type in Advanced Sessions plugin into Google, and it's this first forum's Unreal Engine link, and you'll download the appropriate, look at this full screen, you'll download the appropriate drive file or Google Drive file for your version. So we're on 4.26.2. So I'm just going to click on that link and click download, and download anyway, and we'll let that finish up really quick. There we go, and we'll drag this to our desktop. For now, you just right click and extract all, and let that finish extracting. While that's extracting, we'll go ahead and go back to Google, and we're just going to type in the Steam subsystem, well, actually it'll be on UE4 Steam subsystem, Steam Online Subsystem, and you'll go to this docs.unreal.com. Yeah, you'll go here, scroll about halfway down until we get to this part. This is the finished settings part, and all you're going to do is highlight and copy all of this, and we'll close out of that. This is finished extracting, so we don't need the zip file anymore, and we'll open that up. You can delete these because they're just extra stuff that really isn't needed. Read the license if you're planning to package this game out and actually take it to production. But we're just going to need this Advanced Sessions, the main folder right here, and we're just going to copy that. You'll go to your documents, well, wherever you keep your Unreal projects at. Mine are in my documents. You can also open up your project and go to your project setting or your plugins and do it from there. But we'll go into multiplayer template, and it'll look just like this if you've started a new project. If not, it'll have some other stuff in it. So we're just going to create a new folder called plugins, and inside of there we're just going to drag, actually we already copied it, so we'll just paste that in there. And that's going to copy the items from this folder, and as you can see, it's just Advanced Steam Sessions and Advanced Sessions all together. Once we are done there, we are done. Let's see, we're not. We need to go into our config and the DefaultEngine.ini. As you see here, this is exactly what yours is going to look like if it's brand new, but you'll just want to come down here to the bottom, and you're just going to paste it. The let's see, you'll paste that, the text that we copied, if I know how to copy things properly. So you'll paste that down to the bottom, just leave one space gap in between it. And this is going to use the dev ID, which is 480. It's Space Wars, and it's going to enable the subsystem. So we'll close out of that and make sure you save it, and then we'll just move right along to opening back up our project, and I'll meet you all there. So now that we're in our project, you're going to see down here that there are new plugins available. I'm going to go and do that as well. You click on Manage Plugins, just type in Steam. So it enabled the Advanced Steam Sessions already, and it looks like it's also went ahead and enabled the OnlineSubsystem Steam. So you're just going to make sure that both of those are enabled, and you'll also type in advanced sessions and make sure the main one is enabled as well. So now that we're done there, we're going to get directly into the project. So this is going to be our main playable area. This is going to be the main map that you're using for everybody to spawn in, and whatever type of game you're making. This will be the map that you get queued into, or at least in our case we're going to use server travel. However, in this video, since it's just a template, we'll just be continuing with it like this. So I'm going to go and get it cleaned up a little bit here, and I'll be back over with you. Okay, so the only thing I've done is move the blueprints folder out and rename it characters, because for this game mode we're actually going to need a new folder for our specific game modes. So we're going to go ahead and create that. We'll go ahead and get everything ready that we're going to need. So we'll draw your third person game mode in there, which is going to be the main game mode. You can rename it just so it's easier, or you keep it however you like, however you have it currently if you're adding this to another project. Whoops, not main menu. Main game mode. So that's just going to let us know that that's our main game mode that our character is going to use. And we are also going to need our main menu game mode. I'll put GM in front of it just so I can find it easier whenever we're searching for it later. And moving right along, we're going to need 2 player controllers as well. So we'll create a new folder just to keep it organized. You don't have to if you don't like to, if you like chaos. In our player controllers folder, not a new folder, we are going to create a player controller, and this is going to be our PC for player controller, main controller, and then we're going to create another one, and that is going to be our PC for player controller, our main menu controller. So those are going to be the 2 ones that you need, the 2 player controllers and 2 game modes that you're going to need. And in our maps folder, we are also going to rename, or we're going to create a new one that's going to be our main menu. And we will need a widgets folder. So in our content folder, we'll just create a new one and title it widgets. And we are going to need down in UI a new widget. This is going to be our widget blueprint, main menu, and that should be everything that we're going to need just to get the template for a multiplayer Steam session set up. So we're not going to need anything else as far as it goes. I'll have some other videos later in the future discussing like extra settings and stuff like that. We'll look more into that later on, like I said. So we're also, let's see. We're gonna need I don't believe I have a blueprints folder. So this is just gonna keep generic blueprints that don't really have a folder or aren't big enough to need a folder. So in our blueprints, we're gonna create a new blueprint class and click on this little arrow, and we're gonna create a new game instance. So just a new game instance. I actually made a mistake right here. Whenever you go to create this game instance, I said to click on this one and select it. However, it's supposed to be the Advanced Friends game instance. So make sure that you create your game instance out of this. This is the only way that you can use the Steam invites and stuff like that. So back to the regular video. And we're going to title this server info. This is what's going to handle everything that the server needs to know about a player hosting a session, joining a session, just things like player name and anything like that. So we are actually going to start off there, and you open up your server info. I'll actually go over your preferences, and I want everything to open up in the main window, so I'll set that there. Starting off, you're going to create a custom event, and this is just going to be host session. And we're also going to need a custom event for joining the session. So we'll just drag this down there. Off the host session custom event you just created, you'll just drag off and you'll create a advanced session. And this is what's going to handle everything about your session. So extra settings, these can be like map names, current players connected, who's connected by name, by Steam ID, anything like that that you want. You can set your name as the name of the server, custom names for custom server names, stuff like that. Public connections, that's going to be the max amount of allowed connections. Private connections, these would be things like if you sold VIP connection slots to like Patreons, for instance, you could set 15 of those for each server, and you know, only those 15 people could connect. Use LAN is pretty self-explanatory. If you'd like these to be LAN servers just for you and your friends to play at, you know, a house, that would be fine. Allow invites, that needs to be set to true just for Steam. It's not ever going to be a dedicated server. We'll go over that in a completely different video because it's going to be its own devil on its own. Use presence, that's going to allow people to join you, or that's going to allow like your actual Steam ID to show that you're playing the game and that you're in a session. Allow joy via presence, that's going to allow people to join you just by seeing that you're in the game, which is what use presence is. Friends only, that one's pretty self-explanatory too. If you only want friends to be able to join, you would check this box. Anti-cheat, if you want to, like Steam games will show the Steam logo. If they're anti-cheat, you can do that as well. Use stats, not exactly sure about that one. I'll look more into that one. And should advertise needs to be true as well. Steam actually has a public server like window that you can just go and view public servers for all games, and that's how we're going to do this actually. So allow invites and should advertise should be set to true, as well as use presence and allow join via presence. Off of the player controller, we are going to just get our player controller. Since we created that player controller, it's what it's going to always use. And on success, we are going to just open the level. Now, if you wanted it to be a pool of levels, then whenever you click on host session, you would have a box to come up, and you would type in the level, and that would be the level name. But in our case, it's just going to be a third-person example map. It is case sensitive, so it'll always have to be exactly as it is in your content browser. So no spaces or anything like that. At the end of the options, you're going to type in listen. If that doesn't work for you, if you're still not able to join someone's session after putting listen in the options, at the end of the map, you'll put a question mark and then put listen after that. I'm actually going to do it that way. I find it works better. Whenever you're doing the level names to be opened, whenever you're hosting it, all you'll do is do an append. So like you append a string, so you would just have the map name come into A, and then at the end of it with no space, you would just do question mark listen, and that would, you know, create the map name. Tell you what, we'll actually go ahead and do that just in case in the future you decide to have interchangeable maps. That'll convert straight over, and the map name is going to be, in our case, like I said, it's just going to be third-person example map. And it's going to append those together, and it's going to come out exactly how we had it typed up here. This is just in case you want interchangeable map names. On failure, you can do a print string just for developers' purposes. You can also have a text box in the widget that'll come up, but we're not going to do any of that. So we're going to keep it how it is, just move it all back over. So that's going to set up our host session. On our join session, this is where a lot of people get confused. You can't actually just join a session, even though there is one hosted. You still have to find it, so you find a session's advanced. You're going to make sure it says advanced after. And we're going to get our player controller. So, if you were doing a list, or if you didn't want this to go on forever because your game's just that popular, you would set your max results to a very high number. Whenever it's set to 0, it's set below an integer value of 1, so it'll just search forever. Use LAN, self-explanatory. It'll only find LAN servers, and obviously it'll only find them if someone's hosting one with the use LAN option. The service type, you can check for client servers, which are listen servers, all servers, or dedicated servers. If you want like a community browser, community servers would be dedicated servers, so you can search that way. Filters are going to be an array, and they are going to be the exact same as the extra settings. So you would just have input boxes in your join session lobby, and they would have to match these extra settings. Empty servers only, self-explanatory as well, also self-explanatory for non-empty servers. Secured servers, that is what the anti-cheat protected thing does. If you don't want to include it at all, just don't. And the minimum slots available would be your public connections count. So on this onSuccess, actually on the results, we're going to drag off and get a for each loop. And what this is going to do is it's going to find these sessions advanced. It's going to loop them into an array. And off of this, off of the loop body, you could cast it to a squirrel box, and it would list all the servers like that. However, we're not going to do it that way. This is going to be more of a battle royale kind of style of finding servers. So it's going to find the server, and it's just going to join the first one it can. So on this completed, we are just going to type in join session. You're going to make sure it's in the online sessions group, not the, you don't want to call that again. And the search results are going to be the array element, which are going to be these results. And the player controller is just going to be get player controller. And that's all that needs to be set up in our game instance. So we are hosting the session, it creates it based on these settings that you set. We're actually going to set that way lower to 10 because we don't want a ton of people connecting, at least in my case. It's going to get our player controller, create the advanced session using that player controller. On success, it's going to open up our map with the argument listen with a question mark in front of it. That's how it knows it's an argument. It's going to open up that level by name. So we are finished inside of our server info. We can close out of that and jump over to our game mode. And actually our player controller, my bad. What needs to happen in our main menu player controller is, let's see, off of this begin play, you are going to create our widget. So we're going to do it in our player controller because it's always going to be there. So we are going to create a widget. The owning player is going to be ourself, but we're going to get player controller. And the class is obviously going to be our main menu. Off of this, I always skip this one part. Drag that down. Put an is valid right in front of it. And what is it? We're just gonna you do that by control clicking and dragging. So if it's not valid, we're going to create the main menu widget. Then we're going to add it to our viewport. That's saying that once this player controller spawns in, it's going to see if our main menu widget has been created. If not, and it's going to check that based on this return value. And then it's going to add it to our viewport. If it, for some reason, somehow has already been created, like say you're in a session and you leave it, obviously it's going to respawn. However, the main menu widget's already been created, so it's going to skip over this and just add it to the viewport. And it knows what to search for because of this return value. Over here, we are going to get our player controller once more. We're going to get our player controller, and drag off of that, and set show mouse cursor. We're going to set that to true, and we're also going to set to UI only. So set input mode UI only, and that's just going to take away all control from the actual keyboard. Well, or controller, input device, whatever you want to call it. We're going to get the widget in focus off of this return value, which is looping entire is valid. And I'm just going to drag that down from there. So what's going on here is the player controller spawns in, it sees that the widget blueprint has been created. If it has, it goes on to add it to the viewport. If it hasn't, it creates it, adds it to the viewport, show our mouse cursor so that we can actually click on things, and then it'll set the mode UI only so that we can't move around, even though we won't have a character to move around. It's just safety. So we could click play and test it. However, we haven't done anything inside of our main menu widget yet, so we'll go over there and create it just for testing purposes. We're just gonna give some text, and this will just be our title. We'll size it to content and anchor it, somewhere towards the top. This is just gonna be multiplayer template. It'll be your game name in whatever case you use. And we'll go ahead and increase that font. Not too big. That'll work, and we'll drag it pretty much back center. Alright, and let's see, we're going to need a box, a vertical box. This is just going to be what holds our buttons. So if you actually just go into the common and drag 3 buttons in, you can do this in any style you like, in any different way you like. We'll also drag text on top of those. You can also drag them down here. While we're here, we will rename these. So this is going to be our host button. And the padding, we'll set it to 20. And we'll fill. The second one is going to be our join button. This is just going to make it easier to find in the nodes. Same thing, fill, padding of 20. And third one is going to be the exit button. And fill. So we'll go ahead and title these host session, join session, and exit game. So we'll go ahead and test this out. We'll click play. Whoops, need to change the map. We need to make sure that we're in our main menu map, and we also need to go ahead and make sure that the game mode's set. So over here in our world settings, we're going to go to game mode override and set it to game mode main menu. And let's see, we'll double check. I don't know if I set these. You actually need to go to your game mode main menu. Okay, I did not. So you need to set the player controller to the main menu player controller, and we'll go ahead and set none for the pawn, and the HUD can stay, everything else can stay. The only thing we don't need is the default pawn class, so we're not spawning a character who's going to fall through the void forever, and we also need a player controller main menu. So now if we go to our main menu, we're in our main menu level, if we click play, as you can see, wow, I did not anchor those correctly. But as far as this goes, we can click now, and if we click escape, it'll go out. Let me go fix this really quick because it's ugly. You'll just click on this vertical box, yeah, that's why, and anchor it setter. Looks a lot better. So we have these buttons now, but they don't do anything, so let's make them do things. The only one you're keeping, we're in our main menu widget, by the way. The only one that you're keeping is the event construct. See, on this construct, we are going to, not off of it, but we are going to right click and get our game instance. We are going to cast to server info, which is that game instance that we created at the beginning of the video. And right click on this as server info, promote it to a variable. This is going to be a reference to the host and join sessions node. Actually, I'm doing this in the wrong place. We are going to go in our player controller, and we'll put it right before all this. So in our player controller, where we're creating the actual main menu widget, we're just going to drag those out, and right here you're going to right click and get player controller, and off of that you want to get your player controller cast to player controller main menu. which is going to be in our player controller main menu. We are going to drag our where we created the main menu, we're going to drag it out. Right here we get the game instance, and off of that, this is where you do the cast to server info, and we will just plug that in right there, and we'll right click and promote that to a variable, create a reference server info. This is going to be our reference to the server info, which is where we created our host and join sessions node. And then you'll just plug that in like normal, and we'll drag this back. So, moving back, actually, we'll go ahead, while we're here, we'll go ahead and set up the custom events that you're going to need. So, still in our player controller main menu, we do a custom event. This is going to be client side, so we'll put client host session. And this will run on the server, or on that one client, my bad. And another custom event, and this will be client join session. And all that these are going to do is cast to our reference server info, and that's why we created this reference, so we'll drag it out in between these. And we will do host session, which we created in our game instance, and we'll drag off this again and get join session. That's all that those are going to need to do. So that one will also run on the winning client, since those are client side at least. This ensures that the client does the same thing that the server is about to do. Moving back to our main menu widget, on this event construct, we need to, this is where we get the player controller. We're going to cast to our PC main menu, and we're going to promote that to a variable. This is going to be our ref main menu. Main menu player controller. And off of that, see, so now that we have the reference to the main menu, we can actually cast to these. So, and the way that we do that is off these buttons. So, if you click on host button right here, you can click on clicked and drag out your reference to the main menu, and you're just going to type in client host session. It'll be up there at the top. And right here we will do a remove from parent. This is going to remove the entire widget just in case, because I've had instances in 4.26 of it not removing the main menu widget if that's not there. And we'll also get the on clicked for join session. So whenever you join the session, we'll also remove it from the parent. Like I said, that just ensures that the actual widget gets destroyed, because for some reason it doesn't like to all the time. And we'll just copy and paste that. And we'll get a reference, and we will run client join session. So, whenever you load the game, you'll be greeted with this. Whenever you click on host session, it'll remove it from the parent and it'll run client host session, which will go to your player controller, because our player controller is what controls everything, that all the inputs from the player, the physical player, on the client. So it's going to take our client side of pushing the button, and it's going to tell the server to host a session, which will create an event session based on your settings, append the map name with a listen server command, and open the level just like that. Same thing for the join session. You know, you're greeted with the main menu. You click on join session right here. It'll go, and the client will tell the server to start finding a server based on these arguments, or these settings. If it finds one, it'll do a for each loop, and it will I wonder if that's going to be an issue. We'll find out soon. It's going to do a for each loop, and based on what it finds, it'll just join the first session that it finds, just for now. we're gonna have a way to invite your friends and everything like that. So if we go to test this, I click play. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, I haven't set this as the game instance. So we go here to our project settings and maps and modes. We go down here to game instance class and set it to server info because it wasn't creating the main menu widget because this was never finishing. So now we click play. As you see, it creates it. We click host session. It'll join. However, we have to go and do a little bit more to actually possess the character that is going to be on your main map. So everything is set up correctly here, so we're finished with the main menu. We'll close out of all that and we'll keep server info open just in case we need it. We will go over to our main controller. The first thing we want to do is set the game to set input mode game only. Player controller is going to get player controller. And we'll go ahead and go into our third person map or whichever map you're using, and we're just gonna make sure that we have a player start in there because I deleted it for some reason. So if we click play and host session, and we don't have control, so it's not. Oh, I'll tell you what. We go into game modes and our main game mode. The player controller needs to be set as well to your main controller. The reason we created this is just so we can, if we ever need to, because Unreal has a built-in player controller for the third-person character. So we're going to use this one instead because this is going to be the base player controller that is built in, but we can also go into it and edit things like this that need to happen after the fact of something else being destroyed. Because there's no way for us to set our game mode back to game only to be able to control a player, because everything that set it to UI only has been destroyed. So now if we click play and host session, as you can see, we have full control over our character and the session is created. And the way that you can see is if the session actually got created is do a command off this. So we just do a print string. And we will say success. And there you go. See, it says success. So that shows that the advanced sessions was created. However, now we have fully created the advanced sessions. If we, let's see, we do players, we'll do those in Windows. Really no. So in this first one and second one, if we host a session, as you see, we're in it. If I go into and join the second session, it'll look for one. And it has also joined us in. As you see, movements replicated already. That's just part of Unreal. But we have created an event session, and this, I know I'm on the same machine. However, at the end of the video, I will provide some footage on 2 separate machines of them being able to connect together. So we've gotten all the base advanced session stuff set up. Now we want to be able to invite players through Steam. So the way that you see, the only way as of, I can't remember which update they did it, but I know in 4.26 Steam does not work if you do standalones anymore. It used to be able to just click play standalone in a new editor window and you could use Steam. However, obviously that's not the case, or you'd see it happening. So the only way to see is to launch the game. So we will just make sure that it's ready to launch, and I will be back once the game launches to show you all. Tell you what, make sure you have Steam open. Okay, so currently I'm just going through the issue of the game not launching. I was just going to skip forward until the game launched so I could show you all the Steam subsystem loading. But I believe the issue is that I haven't compiled the C++ code yet. So what you'll need to do is click File and click New C++ class. It'll pop up with a dialog just like this. You click None, and then you create the class. My class, leave everything default. Create it. It'll compile the C++ code, and hopefully once this finishes up, we'll be able to move on with launching the game. Because with plugins like Advanced Sessions, you actually need to do this anyways. It needs to be compiled with C++ code for the plugins to actually package out. So I figured that could be the issue for the game not launching as well, because it is in a sense trying to package and launch the game. So I'll be right back once this finishes up. So this is what we're up with. We want to allow access to public networks, same way you would any other game. And as you can see, if we click host session, it let's see, it couldn't load the example map. So not exactly sure. That might be because of the append that we did, actually. So we'll see what that append is outputting. That's not the right one. So we'll just do this for a second. Just it's the best thing about print strings. Really no. I want to see what that append is outputting. So it looks like it appended correctly. Maybe somewhere with it got stuck somewhere. So we'll skip over that for now and get back to it later on. However, I'll just set that up how it's supposed to be. They might have taken it out of 4.26.2 to be able to do that with the append, or it just simply doesn't work anymore. But so we're back in our session. I'll launch the game up again, make sure everything's saved. I'll launch the game up again so that you all can see the Steam subsystem actually working. It's gonna be able to show everybody that I'm playing Space Wars, because in this case we're still using the DevAppId, and I'll be able to invite people to Space Wars as well. However, I'll show you. Let's see, so there we go. So access to the Steam community while playing. If we shift tab, as you see it comes up, we're playing Space Wars. That's just because my privacy settings. So as you see, it says we're playing Space Wars. I've done this quite a bit. So let's see. The only things you can do, you can't invite people to watch yet because you haven't actually hosted a session. But if we host a session, it's still having issues opening that map. Let's see if we can. Let's see if doing this fixes it. So if let's go rename it actually. We'll rename this to something way simpler. We'll just make this playable map with a capital P and M. For some reason, I think it's having an issue opening up the listen server. So we will actually go down here in the options and type listen down here and see if that fixes our issue. Because every time we launch the game, it has an issue with actually opening the map, and I think it's that's okay. That's not gonna stop it from launching. I believe it's having an issue opening up the listen server, and I'm gonna include these issues as well because you might face them as well, and you may not with the first ways. But if you just want to skip forward to like this way, for instance, so we're gonna open up a playable map with a listen option. This is gonna be like a travel. Okay, so if you were directly connecting to a IP from, like, say you're already in someone's server and you pull up the command prompt and you connect via IP, this would be what the option would be for. So we're actually opening the level by name and then putting it up as a listen server, so it should open up in Steam as a listen server and be enabled via presence. So that is open. We click host session, and it has worked. So I guess you can't use the question mark with listen afterwards anymore. But now that we are actually in our session, if we go to a friend, we can invite to lobby. So we can invite them to our game, and they can join in. However, they also have to have the exact same game, same version and everything, obviously, that we are playing on. Because if they accept the invite, it will try to install Space Wars. If you're just making this for your friends, then you're gonna have that issue. So whenever you're actually inviting friends to the game, make sure they have the game open. Other than that, if you invite friends, I'll get this packaged out and put on a different computer so that I can show you all it working with my other Steam account, with us being able to join either way. However, I'm going to do a little bit of extra stuff. I may actually just show my the full project that I have going on right now. So we'll close out of this and cancel that. Okay, so one thing that I had forgot, I don't know how many times I've said this, but I tried to make it a point, but apparently I still forgot it. So in our blueprints folder in the server info, it's the advanced friends. This is why you need the advanced friends. So if you type in event invite, so event on session, whenever you accept the invite, this is what's going to handle the actual Steam side of things. So whenever you invite your friend through Steam, they get the message, they click on join session. This is what handles what happens after they click join session or join game. And so this is going to be a join session node, and the person invited or the session to join is going to be search results. The player controller is just going to be get player controller, because they're going to have the game open anyways to do this until you have an app ID, and that costs money, and I'm sure a lot of you all are just wanting to do this for your friends anyways. So this is what is going to actually allow people to accept your Steam invite and then join the game. I left it out. I completely forgot about it because I went to test it a second ago, and doing it did nothing. Accepting the invite did nothing. So as far as it goes, we are completely finished. If we package the game out, we'll get our default window. I'll jump back over once it is launched. Alright, so it is launched, and we click host session, and I don't know how it's still doing that. Let's see what's going. It's still trying to open up the third person map for some reason, so maybe that map is glitched. I don't exactly know what's going on there. However, we are able to, let's try it again. We are able to, let's cancel that. Go into your project settings, your maps and modes. You want to make sure that the game default map is main menu, and that server default map is playable area. This will stop that error from occurring all the time. Your transition map is going to be a lobby if you had one. We will in the future. I already have. So we have everything working now that you would need to actually create a advanced session, invite your Steam friends. We're also going to add, you can have a way to pull up a friends list. But for now, this is all that you're going to need for a multiplayer template. This is going to allow you to host and join sessions as well as finding them just in the simplest manner. You can do it from any main menu, any widget in the game. You just do those on clicks, and you would do this in the appropriate player controller for where you are. Other than that, you will have a good one. If you have any more questions, I'll leave my Discord in the description so you can privately message me, and I may have a server. I may actually just create a server for anyone who is interested in it to just come in and share stuff that they've done in Unreal, or ask me questions. I can probably pretty much help you with anything. Other than that, you all have a good one, and we'll see you in the next one.